Support for Louisiana, the state we're in, is provided by
Entergy Louisiana is strengthening our power grid throughout the state. We're reinforcing infrastructure to prepare for stronger storms, reduce outages, and respond quicker when you do need us, because together we power life.
additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum, located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is a historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting and viewers like you. Thank you.
Louisiana is set to launch one of the most generous film tax credit incentives in the nation to boost film production across the state.
In sports, the LSU baseball Tigers were triumphant in the NCAA Regional in Baton Rouge, setting their aim on Omaha and the College World Series. I spoke with former LSU National Championship pitcher Anthony Renato to discuss the magic of postseason competition at the box.
Plus, big news for a group of Southern University filmmakers. Their documentary about the human jukebox is now an Emmy winner.
And some of Louisiana's architectural jewels are being honored on the National Register of Historic Places. If you're ready, let's get started.
Let's do it. Hello, everyone. I'm Dorothea Wilson.
And I'm Victor Howell. Much more on those top stories in a moment on this week's edition of Louisiana, the state we're in.
But first, Louisiana lawmakers are working to revitalize the film industry by proposing a new film tax incentive package designed to attract more filmmakers to the state. The package offers a 25% tax credit and an extra 15% on labor costs for hiring Louisiana residents. I sat down with industry professionals and Baton Rouge Film Commissioner Katie Pryor to get their thoughts on how this new incentive package can revolutionize our state's film industry.
I think we've had close to $9 billion worth of verified spending for production here in the state. Gosh, over 1,300 films and TV shows have shot here. But the industry just in general, nationwide or even worldwide, is not exactly what it was 10 years ago.
Hollywood South is poised for a revival as Louisiana introduces new film tax credit incentives that could transform the state's struggling film industry. Industry expert Patrick Mulhern of Mulhern and Associates took a moment to reflect on Louisiana's film industry over the years. He notes that once upon a time, Louisiana was a formidable player in the industry, boasting one of the most thriving production facilities. However, time took its toll, and factors such as climate change, COVID-19, and increasing worldwide competition have significantly impacted the state's film sector.
You know, we're amazing at facilitating production. Arguably, I was the biggest facilitator of them all at one point because this place is the largest design-built studio in the Gulf South, and we had big, $200 million plus films like Battleship and Twilight Saga, Breaking Dawn Parts 1 and 2.
Yeah.
We had Oblivion with Tom Cruise, but those days things have changed.
State officials took note and orchestrated a plan that is said to be one of the most generous incentive packages in the nation, providing a 25% tax credit.
I think what they decided to do is really look at how can we, maximize what we have? How can we get the most bang for our buck and help the most people in Louisiana?
Yes.
And so that's what this new bill that just passed is going to make it so that it's really more everybody's going to want to come here, but not everybody can.
The plan also provides an extra 15% tax benefit to entities hiring Louisiana residents. Now, this news was met with great enthusiasm by Novak Workforce Program Director Stevie Warren, who oversees educational programs for film industry workers and job placement.
So there is a component of the tax incentive program, that career readiness tax component, that is extremely important and key to talent development here in Louisiana.
Now, this was even better news for Nathan Hall, an independent filmmaker in Louisiana who says the incentives will help him grow in the industry and create new opportunities for others just like him.
I'm excited to grow film industry here and to be a part of it and to make my own movies here. If you look throughout history, there's just kind of these waves of independent cinema that come to and fro, and I think we're in a period where we're about to have a whole new wave of incredible new filmmakers coming up and making their projects here.
And Baton Rouge Film Commissioner Katie Pryor weighed in and shared her thoughts. Now, Pryor says she's pleased with the tax incentives and believes they will be a huge asset to the state's film industry and economy. But we've got to look through a larger lens.
It's all part of an ecosystem, and you have to be really, really careful when you're planning growth of an industry like this, or really anything else, not to narrow it down to one concept or one headline. You know, it can't just be incentives. It can't just be workforce development. It can't just, you have to be able to back up and approach it from a holistic perspective, saying, okay, we're going to grow an ecosystem. This is an entire creative economy. Mm-hmm. And then the more you grow, the more it creates a society where people want to be there and live.
She says we have to look at this as the first step, but not the final step in the restoration of our film community.
This is complicated, it's intense, and the reward is there. The reward in travel tourism, in economic spend and impact, job development, I mean, everything. It's all there.
Well, it's time now to take a look at what's trending this week. Now, Victor, lots to talk about. There was a press conference recently held with Gail Benson discussing the economic impact of Super Bowl 59.
Yeah, remember we talked to Jay Cicero about this a few months ago with the Super Bowl coming in. They knew it would be successful, and it was. The Super Bowl brought in over $1.25 billion in economic activity across the state, more than doubling the revenue from the last time Louisiana hosted the Super Bowl, and that was back in 2013.
That is wild, Victor. Now, I also heard that there was history made being the second most economically impactful Super Bowl ever. Talk about the GOAT.
And New Orleans knows how to host a Super Bowl. They know how to host big events. Congratulations to them. Remember the troubling story a few weeks back from New Orleans with the prisoners that escaped from the prison down in the Crescent City? Well, we're hearing from the governor now, who told the remaining 2 escaped inmates from a New Orleans prison, stop playing hide and seek.
Right. Now, this comes after the escaped convict, Antoine Massey. Now, he released an Instagram video pleading his innocence, appealing to President Trump and Kim Kardashian. Now, the house that the video was filmed in was raided soon after, but Massey was nowhere to be found.
Yeah, still on the move. Now, follow this next story under Ripley's Believe It or Not, because it's being hailed as one of the greatest seasons in college baseball history, maybe any sport. The LSU Shreveport Pilots took the city on a journey they will never forget with their undefeated season. Woo. Dorothea, undefeated for the year. They went 59-0, captured the NAIA World Series title. The team's been invited to the White House by Speaker of the House, Representative Mike Johnson, during a citywide celebration honoring the team's historic achievement. That means not one time did somebody have an error, a botched play, anything. 59-0. It is unbelievable to do that season.
I think there's something cool about that number 59 there. I don't know.
Oh, well, congratulations to them. I mean, what a great story for the Shreveport.
Yeah.
But let's stick with the baseball story for just a minute.
Let's do it.
Just a minute now. It was a stroke of midnight, literally Monday night, but the LSU baseball Tigers finally pulled off the win over Little Rock to clinch the Baton Rouge Regional. Now, just West Virginia and 2 wins separate the Tigers from a return trip to Omaha and the College World Series. This week, I spoke with former LSU National Championship pitcher Anthony Ronaldo to discuss the magic of playing in Alex Box Stadium and what it will take for his Tigers to get back to Rosenblatt Stadium next week. A bit of a tough year for college baseball in the state of Louisiana, as one team made it to the field of 64, but that one team is still playing headed to the Super Regional, and that is LSU. And the man joining me pitched for LSU, led the SEC in strikeouts. He was 3rd in the country for strikeouts, also won a national championship. Anthony Ronaldo. The unique thing, Anthony played in the old box. He actually got the last out at the old box and then played at the new box. Are your juices flowing because it's Super Regional weekend? Do you kind of get going? You want to get back out there?
It's the best time of year, yeah. And you know, and anytime the competition rises up, right, that's, yeah, of course. I still have that itch, but just being out in the box, the atmosphere, everything, right, is the best time of year for Baton Rouge.
A Jersey boy born and bred, but now calls Baton Rouge home. And I know you wrote a very interesting article that you posted on your website about how Baton Rouge has become home, but how baseball also shaped you to want to stay here in Louisiana. Tell me about that.
it's such a unique culture. I'm blessed to have played in some really great markets. Think about it. I got drafted by Boston, made it there and played in the big leagues there.
Yep.
Traded to Texas and played
Yep,
in Dallas, right?
Yep. Yep.
And then Chicago. I played in 3 huge markets, and it's just different here. It really is. And people ask me all the time, why do you live in Baton Rouge? And I think I like titled part of my like caption that, and I said, this is why. Because of the postseason at the box, the way the people care, the culture, right? The way that I was absorbed into this culture, and because of that fraternity and the things that people did before me, it's just one of the coolest things for me.
You do have the unique perspective. You got the last out at the old box, but you remember the old box. The crowd was a little different. They're more on top of you as opposed to what is the new box now. But that's what really drew me with the article that you put out there, because of the perspective. What do you think in the comparison to where you used to play and the new Alex Box Stadium?
You said it perfectly. It was just loud. It was just so different. There was this, you could feel the box vibrating almost, like when there was a, and again, it was so funny because I didn't know any better. I was a 17-year-old kid when I first got down here, 18, right, during the baseball season, and I was promised these things of like, you're not going to even understand how different it is. And then I did when I got to the new box, right, because there really is a little bit of a difference. The more space, it's wider, right, instead of being on top of you. That was the biggest difference. When I was pitching on that mound, you could feel, and luckily they were behind me, right, they were on my side. I can't imagine what it was like being an opponent, and that's what the article was about. Jared shared that piece from a player on UC Irvine in that super regional, and they lost a game because their kid couldn't hear their coach because the stadium was so loud.
Yeah, the coach wanted him to back up.
Literally.
He couldn't hear him, and then he wound up missing
the ball over his glove, like just a chopper. And you can hear this kid tell the story because he's at second base, and he was trying to yell at him. He's like, whatever his name is, right? He's like, back up, back up. And then sure enough, pitch is delivered, bouncer over his head, and we score. And then, we win the next day, and everything was wild.
And I think it's important to realize that there are not a lot of schools in the country that are revenue making, right, positive revenue in college baseball like it is LSU. There's certainly something to be said for 12,000 every night. And this past weekend, very good crowd, different crowd. And at least, and I was thinking that's why I look forward to talking to you. There was a scenario against Little Rock, bases loaded, 2 outs. In the old box, everybody would have been up, and like you said, the stadium would have been shaking. The pitcher's going to bounce it, or he's going to go Bull Durham and hit the mascot for the nerves. This one, it's larger, but it just doesn't seem like that on top of you intensity is there. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. It's and that's the way that the game has shifted, right? Stadiums are more spread out, and we talk about it. It's a revenue generating thing, and there's opportunities there for the universities, but that is the biggest differentiator, is that ability for the crowd to affect the opposing player. Now, I still think they affect it, and that's just harder to do and perform when the crowd is doing those things. But when it's not in your ear, they feel like they're right over your shoulder in the bullpen, and they're saying your sister's name and all these different things. You're like, okay, so it's a different vibe, but it still is the best atmosphere in college baseball. And you go there, and still all the opposing players and families and everything still have the best experience, which is awesome to me.
How much do you still reminisce about your days as an active player? I know you had a great career in the majors, like you said, a lot of big markets. You got traded a couple times, and the moves that you made, those are great experiences. But I know this was unique. How much do you still reminisce on your days, either getting the last out of the box, the dog pile for the national championship? You were blessed to have that as well. What stands out to you?
I mean, there's so many things. I mean, the list goes on. One of my favorite ones that I love to tell, DJ LeMahieu, still playing Major League Baseball, right? He's one of my best friends. And when we won the national championship, we were in the dugout, and, Coach was giving some seniors like their chance to get their standing ovation, all that stuff, right? So DJ and I are like, what's our plan? Where are we going to be in the dog pile? So I love that moment of like, do we want to be on the bottom? Should we be a little bit on the outside this time? Because it kind of hurts being on the bottom. It's a lot of intensity and pressure. And then the other thing was like, DJ, I know you're from Wisconsin. He's a Green Bay fan. I was like, should we do a Lambeau leap into the stands in left field when we do the lap? He's like, oh my God, I love it. So that's what we did. We did our whole lap, and DJ and I literally those walls were huge. So we were like, hey, we're going to do a leap. We want to jump in. And they were like, what? And so all the fans picked us up. DJ and I scaled the wall, jumped in, and we were sitting back, and we were like, just having a moment.
Absolutely.
And so that one to me is probably one of my greatest experiences, and just, doing that lap with the team and everything. And then the night in Omaha. Omaha's an awesome city. So it was awesome.
Got about 45 seconds left. So let me put on your analyst cap. LSU struggled against Little Rock, who, give them credit, played outstanding, but they wind up beating them at midnight on Monday night to move on to Super Regionals. Here comes West Virginia. 2 or 3 to go to Omaha. What's the biggest key for your Tigers if they're going to make it back there again?
the pitching's got to be the pitching. They've been consistent all year, right? So I think, we need Cade Anderson to be his Friday night self. We need Ianson to keep doing his thing. He's probably the hottest pitcher in the country right now. And then the bullpen to keep doing their thing. And if we have to go to a game 3, Case and Evans, we need that
sure.
same.
What a magical moment, huh?
Exactly. And we need that same kind of performance. So if the pitchers do that, I think the offense will do its thing and the box will have its magic, right? So I'm kind of counting on those things.
There will be a lot of people. It's going to be a hot weekend. There are a lot of people there. And if anybody knows about winning, it's this man right here. Anthony, it's great to see you.
Yes, thank
Appreciate
you for
the
having me.
reminiscing and the stories, and we'll see what happens this weekend.
Anytime. Go Tigers.
Now from Tiger Town to the Bluff, more good news for the state. A group of Southern University journalism students are bringing the rhythm and rigor of the legendary human jukebox to the national stage. Their documentary, The Hidden Sport, highlights the band's athleticism, discipline, and dedication as they play a pivotal role in their team's success. Now, what was meant to honor the hard work of the human jukebox turned into these 5 students making history of their own. Take a look.
I didn't know whether to cry or whether to just praise and shout. Like, it was a whole mixed emotions because it's just like, it's like the whole world slowed down. It was like, from a moment, just that one moment of hearing your name called, it's like, this can't be real. It just like really just happened. Like, no, like I must be living in a dream.
Eric White, a member of the Dream Team that took the world by storm with their innovative Sports Emmy submission. He shared his complete disbelief upon learning that he and his team had won. White says winning the Emmy showed the depth of talent and greatness that comes from the heart of Louisiana, and we are more than what meets the eye.
It's so easy to take the pipeline that people say your community builds, but just to break the cycle is what the best thing about it was, because it's like, how does it feel like you're from that place to get there? So I'm just like, it feels great.
The documentary Hidden Sport celebrates the iconic Southern University Human Jukebox Marching Band, showcasing the athleticism, physicality, and dedication required for such high-level performance. Director Lauren Sullivan said it was her goal to have the documentary help people understand that being part of the Human Jukebox is more than just an after-school activity. It means 8-hour daily practice and combining 100 individual instruments into a single unified sound, which is no easy task. Demonstrating the mental toughness needed to be part of such an elite band.
I think when I came up with the concept, being that I was accepted into this entity, like a lot of people on campus, they don't know about, yes, they see the Human Jukebox outside on the field on game day on Saturday, but they don't know about the grit and the grind that goes on behind it. And so being able to be around that for all 4 years, being out there at 2 a.m., whether it's rain, sleet, or snow, it doesn't matter. They're out there no matter what. And that's not just Southern University Human Jukebox. That's the Sonic Boom. That's the Marching 100. It's all the bands in HBCU culture.
Now, Ashley Lovelace also shared that she wanted the world to know the importance of the band's role on game days and how they play a crucial part in energizing the team. They rev up the players to help push them across the goal line in the fourth quarter, and they play energetic chords to pump up the fans, creating an electrifying atmosphere in the stadium. And that the Human Jukebox is undeniably a hidden sport and is recognized as such by other sports organizations.
All of those moments in terms of athletics and the football team specifically, Coach Graves said it, they train just like we do. They work just as hard, if not more. Kendrick said the band is there after we leave for practice. We're done off the field and the band is still there. And so having the football players recognize that and even say, no, this is definitely a sport. They can do what I can't do. It was even more of like, oh, this is dope, because the football players are acknowledging all of the hard work. It's not just, oh yeah, people say that, but it's not really that. No, they work, and they work hard. And so to be able to witness that and to be a part of that and get those stories was awesome.
Now, understanding that they did not work alone, the Dream Team acknowledged the support they received from the school and other sports teams to help make the project possible.
There were a lot of moving parts to this whole process. And what I can say is that anywhere that we needed assistance, if that meant last minute scheduling, if it meant, hey, Mr. Willie, we need the lights on right now at 7 o'clock and one of our people just got here, we need to make this film, like, it was whatever you need is whatever you need. Hey, we need these players at this time in these uniforms to shoot these shots. And even when it came time to reschedule things, because once again, we had some losses during this process. So that kind of shifted production for us because we kind of had to halt a little bit.
Now, while filming the project, they received news that completely knocked the wind out of them. Southern University lost a student. The Dream Team lost a friend, and the Human Jukebox lost a teammate, a brother. 19-year-old Caleb Wilson died as a result of a tragic fraternity hazing accident earlier this year.
We needed to halt because we had to grieve. You know, when you go through loss and you go through those experiences while you're trying to promote something that is positive, that is supposed to uplift people, you deal with grief in a whole different type of way. So that in itself was a moment of growth, I think, for all of us. And I think it made this project that much more special because we knew what it was going to mean.
But in true Dream Team fashion, they were determined to get to the finish line, making this documentary something that they and Caleb could be proud of.
If you put your mind to something, I can guarantee you're going to achieve it. Will it be hard? Yes. Is it a journey? Yes, but also trust your process because your process is your process. And we created something beautiful out of it.
Never did they imagine that their desire to bring recognition to others would result in recognition of their own in the form of one of the most prestigious awards in sports journalism, an Emmy.
Dorothea, as you said going into the story, it's all about the discipline and dedication. We are spoiled here in Baton Rouge. We know how talented the Human Jukebox is, but they are known nationally. They've played in D.C., they play on the West Coast and all those big parades and events. Just such an outstanding group in what they do to represent Southern.
That's right. And I'm looking forward to, just like you said, the nation, the world seeing just what the Human Jukebox can do because this documentary will be released later this summer.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing it. And congratulations to those students. Job well done.
That's right. Now, more Louisiana recognition. Louisiana's rich history is being recognized with several new additions to the National Register of Historic Places.
The designation acknowledges buildings and communities for their cultural and architectural significance and ensures they're preserved for future generations. Karen LeBlanc joins us now with more on the newly registered sites.
Charlie Cole is a retired real estate developer with a passion for historic preservation. His latest project is Willow Springs, a home built in 1910 in Zachary along Highway 61. Charlie is working with the Louisiana Office of Cultural Development's Division of Historic Preservation to list the property on the National Register of Historic Places.
That's a good way to preserve things. For instance, the widening of the road out here, if this was on the National Register, there'd be restrictions from the state to encroach on a historic property. So I think that's important. Preservation and the economic benefit.
The National Register of Historic Places was established by Congress in 1966 as the federal register for all historic places. That's buildings, districts, sites, objects, and structures. In Louisiana, specifically, it's administered by our office within the Division of Historic Preservation, which is under the Lieutenant Governor's oversight.
Bailey Hall is the state coordinator helping Charlie navigate the logistics of his application. Her team provides technical assistance, including the required research and documentation for listing on the National Register of Historic Places.
The program offers honorary designation only. We do not restrict the use of private property owners to do what they want with their properties, but it is a tool for preservation planning and cultural identity, preserving that heritage and that legacy of these resources.
Charlie has restored several historic properties, including Santa Maria Plantation in Baton Rouge, 62 Esplanade in the New Orleans French Quarter, and Como Plantation, which functions as a religious retreat near St. Francisville.
In the case of Como, it was a very big and large undertaking, and funds are always a factor, and the tax credits helped tremendously in that case, both federal and state tax credits. In fact, this year we've used them all. Actually, we sold some of the last tax credits, so you're allowed to sell.
We have different grant funding opportunities and economic incentives. So we have the tax credit program at the state and federal level. We also have historic preservation fund grants, as well as just technical assistance from our office, which we use to help property owners. But it also strives with that heritage tourism and economic revitalizations within small towns.
Louisiana's recent listings on the National Register of Historic Places form an eclectic mix, including a rural farmstead in St. Martin Parish and the Keynes apartment building in Baton Rouge for its Art Deco style and status as a hub for intellectual thought in the 1930s. In Morgan City, Mr. Charlie, the offshore oil rig, received a National Historic Landmark designation. Historic districts in Rayville, Rain, and Oak Grove are all up for nomination.
So the misconception is the National Register is a regulatory program, and it is not. But it is a tool that opens the door to those economic incentives that do place restrictions on the property. Highlighting the heritage and cultural significance of the properties that we have is important, and we don't want to lose sight of that in the economic and development pressures.
To qualify for nomination to the National Register, the property, place, or structure must be at least 50 years old and must remain under the same ownership for at least 5 years. Eligible properties can be income-producing investments, including short-term rentals. Charlie is considering turning Willow Springs into a bed and breakfast after he finishes restoration work.
I enjoy restoration work. I think I enjoy shopping and looking for the exact molding and finding the right pieces, finding the right craftsman to do the work. That's a big trick nowadays, finding the right craftsman.
Listed places receive a plaque that forms another page in Louisiana's architectural and cultural narrative.
That's our show for this week. Remember, you can watch anything LPB anytime, wherever you are, with our LPB app.
You can catch LPB news and public affairs shows, as well as other Louisiana programs you've come to enjoy over the years. And please don't forget to like us on Facebook, on X, and on Instagram.
For everyone at Louisiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Dorothea Wilson.
And I'm Victor Howell. Until next time, that's the state we're in.
Support for Louisiana, the state we're in, is provided by
Entergy Louisiana is strengthening our power grid throughout the state. We're reinforcing infrastructure to prepare for stronger storms, reduce outages, and respond quicker when you do need us, because together we power life.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum, located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is a historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And by Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Visit Baton Rouge. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting and viewers like you. Thank you.